Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next edition of the Rebel Reject Create video podcast. And today I'm joined by Chrissy Levett of the Creative Conscience, a not-for-profit organization based in the UK, which is very much focused on using creativity to do good in the world. And Chrissy comes very much from a sort of design and advertising background. She was a creative director as well as a graphic designer and is now running Creative Conscience in the UK. So welcome, Chrissy.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm a big fan of your work, and I personally believe that creativity has the potential to be the biggest force for good there is. In fact, that it actually is the biggest force. So I'm always very interested with what you're doing with your organization. But today is about you. So you run an organization called Creative Conscience and you come out of the creative industries. What happened? Was there a moment in time where you suddenly went, "Oh my word, I'm a creative person"? Can you talk us through that moment of realization, or did you even not have one?
Yeah, I definitely had one. So, when I was much younger, before I had a family, I would go to war-torn countries and use design as a force for good for other charities that we would use infographics for mine awareness and repatriation for people. So I knew that creativity had that potential. And then I got sort of into the world of agencies. I've actually not worked in ad agencies, but I've worked in branding and product design agencies where we created stuff. So around about probably 12 years ago, I found myself in a place of being the lead creative in quite a sizable branding agency here in London. And from the outside, I would say I was kind of living the dream, but actually I was miserable. I was really depressed. I could see that actually there's a number of things weren't working in my life, but I could see that what we were building, what we were creating was basically crap that people didn't need. And I could see that those products and those things were not only things that they didn't need, but they were destroying our future, people's mental health and well-being and our planet. And so I did a course that was all around self-expression and leadership, and out of that course came this idea of building this global platform, a community built project that would encourage our industry, our creative industry, to use its superpowers for good. Unfortunately, at that time, if you think sort of 10, 12 years ago, our industry wasn't really focused on plastic and oil, and the climate crisis and social injustice. They were just sort of at the coalface working with clients to produce the stuff, and that's no one's fault. There's no one to blame. It's just the way our economic system has been designed. So it's a linear system. We take stuff out the ground, we make stuff, and we throw it away. And obviously, that isn't sustainable in order to create a life-giving planet for every living creature. So we decided to then look at the next generation of creatives coming into our industry. And I talk about our industry as being design, architecture, fashion, that kind of area of creativity, not so much sort of music and dance and theatre. So we're very much in the sort of that area. And so we started an international award scheme, and we invited young people from all over the world to send us projects that sat in line with our aims, which is all about social and environmental impact. And it just kind of took off. And so today, that's my job. I left the design industry to become a social entrepreneur, and we're a registered charity. So yeah, that was my journey. I was miserable, really.
All right. Now, I'm quite interested to hear you make a distinction there between, oh, it's not like theatre and dance and all of that kind of creativity. It's very focused and sort of what some people might call professional creativity, kind of like get a brief, deliver a job, get paid kind of creativity. What do you think creativity is then? I mean, how do you define it?
Well, it kind of makes me laugh. When I was young, I was absolutely crap at school, and but I could always draw and make things, and people, especially sort of older people, would go, "Oh, I'm not creative," and they would make this kind of this statement, and "Oh, you're creative, aren't you? Kind of lucky," and it was like that we were different.
Hmm.
I actually believe that every single human being on the planet is creative. We are all creative, but what we are led to believe through circumstances, it might be in a teacher or a parent or even society, we might have tried something that was more creative than, say, mathematics, and then being told, oh, you're no good at that, and then so we've shut that down for us as a possibility. But if you think about it as um, even if you are thinking about something in the future and you get worried about it, that worry is your imagination.
Yeah.
And that is proof, just in that one thought, that we are all creative. Um, and when we can get that, we can actually start to understand that if we choose, we can discover parts of ourselves that are creative, and that we can enjoy that. You know, we might go to an art class or a writing course or do poetry or go to dance or pottery. We can explore that side of ourselves, and we can have a great time doing so. And if we look at the work of Dr. Brene Brown and her research, it actually helps us to become more whole and actually more wholehearted when we tap into our creative sort of spirits.
Right. Yeah, I think the thing about all of this that really always interests me is that, the pottery or the writing or the what have you is just a particular skill set, which isn't actually creative at all, but it's the idea, it's the conceptualization, it's the, okay, I'm going to go and do something. How am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to use this particular set of skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Hmm.
But all creative. If we close our eyes and imagine something, that makes us creative.
Right, right.
That's what
So,
I think.
well, I do agree. And if you are watching this and you agree as well, please think about hitting the like button or the subscribe so that you can catch more of these interviews. You'll notice there's quite a few on the channel. And I'll be coming back every 2 weeks with new guests to talk about creativity and their work in different ways. Now, Chrissy, what I wanted to really ask you was, I mean, you're obviously hugely creative. Not only have you come through paid for creative industries and work, but you've kind of manufactured an entire new platform and industry out there as well. Do you have a particular methodology or a process? I mean, how do you do that? How do you suck this stuff out of thin air?
Um, well, everything comes from a kind of a need, really, doesn't it? I suppose. So um, I needed to change something in my life at that moment when I was in that agency and I was miserable, um, or a need when I was at school, for example. I wasn't good at the academic subjects, so my need was to do something else, and that came out as creating in a creative form. So if you start with thinking about what your need might be or what might not be working for you, in any situation, you might have a problem. If you give yourself some time and space to think about that problem, and my advice would be to maybe meditate or go for a walk or do some exercise or connect with nature. Give yourself some space to think. That would be the first thing. And then once you've thought, you might want to scribble some notes down. You might want to take some voice recordings. You might want to write or capture those thoughts, and then have the courage to share your thinking with other people, because that's a really good way to get stuff out and to make things happen, is through sharing and through collaboration.
Right. I like that you used the word courage there in the middle. I mean, how much courage did it take you to leave that environment, as unhappy as it was?
Well, I have to have to be honest. I didn't just suddenly run out the door and say, "Oh." It was a step-by-step process, right? So everything, you need to be measured about what you're doing, doesn't it? So it started with the intention, and then kind of formulated it and wrote it down, and drew it on a kind of big me map, and then talked about it to people, and people thought it was a good idea, and then they joined in, and then it became my side hustle, and then step by step. So I think I was still working in the industry for about 5 or 6 years. I moved into freelance and consultancy work, and then about 5 years ago I let go of it altogether, and now it's my job. So it wasn't like some sort of mad. Oh, in fact, I wish I'd been braver, actually, and let go of my old life a bit sooner.
Well, I really like that. I mean, that's out of the agile playbook, isn't it? It's iterative. You tried something and then you saw how it went, you got feedback, you changed something, you went back out, you tried it again. Some of that maybe went better or worse. You got more feedback, you changed it again. So iteration after iteration. And that's actually how most people make most stuff. Just no one ever says that, right?
Yes, definitely trial and error. And, failing is a really good thing. We need to fail and be okay with failure, because we learn from our failures, don't we? We don't learn from the things we're good at.
Yeah, but what do you learn when something goes exactly according to plan?
Nothing, you just keep going.
Right. I know, I mean, it's very popular at the moment, this whole fail fast, fail forward, fail thing. Um, so much so that I think sometimes people are almost setting out to fail instead of setting out to succeed and then failing and then learning something. I mean, how much can you learn if you intend to fail?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, it sounds we could all fail really easily, can't we? We just do something absolutely bonkers, and then, like trying to
Right.
stand on our head on the top of a ladder, and then
That's
break our neck.
but that's actually quite profound. In order to you've got to do something absolutely bonkers. So, I mean, I'm sure to the you that first thought about leaving, the idea of starting something like Creative Conscience must have been completely bonkers. But because you didn't just
Yeah,
make that one leap, you were able to walk yourself into it.
absolutely. And years ago, a friend of mine set up an agency, and I think she was sort of interested in if I would join. And I spent a large part of my career as a freelancer and a practitioner. And I always said, oh, I'd never set up my own business or my own thing. I'd never do it. It's too much hassle. It's too much work. If I'd known what it would lead to, I never would have started it in the first place.
Right.
So it just happened. It just kind of just happened. There wasn't a plan. Wasn't even a process. I think, yeah, I'm not very process driven. I know that people do say that we need to be process driven in kind of the creative industry and in the way we work, but it wasn't very, I was never very good at that.
Well, I just want to pick up on what you said there. You're saying it just happened, but I mean that's not really true, is it? Because it didn't just happen. You took a step, and then another step, and then another step.
Yes. Yes, it is always step by step. And we train people in setting up kind of purpose driven social entrepreneurship sort of type businesses. And we do say that to them. You can't swallow an elephant in one go, can you? You've got to be patient. You've just got to put one foot in front of the other and go step by step and do it that way. So yeah, it's true. It didn't just happen, of course. I don't know. I think I was just led by the passion of it. I was passionate about it, and passion is a really good area to tap into if you want to be creative. Find something that you're passionate about and enjoy yourself, and it will flow. You will get to that kind of flow state when you mash what you love together. With something that you're really passionate about, a cause or an idea, a belief, anything like that is a really good place to start.
Do you think connecting to passion and through that to purpose is part of what makes you resilient enough to kind of see all of those steps through to an end?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you don't have passion for something, it's very difficult to get motivated, isn't it? And it's there's a phrase, I can't remember who said it. about inspiration. You know, it starts with imagination. You then move it. You get it. You start with it being inspired, perhaps, but inspiration has a shelf life. So you need to make sure that you take action on that inspiration, and from that action can come your imagination, and then you can formulate what it might be that you want to do. And one would hope that these amazing YouTube interviews and this channel you're creating is that start. It's that inspiration. But what I would say to your audience is make sure that you then act on that inspiration. You know, you subscribe to this, you press the like button, that's an action, and that will keep you going on your path. Because without action, there's nothing. It's just hot air, isn't it?
Right. I mean, there's a very good reason why you can't copyright ideas. You know, you can only copyright things that have been had action on that idea to generate either a digital or a real world thing. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Chrissy, thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been awesome speaking to you. I mean,
Thank you for having us.
no, it's a pleasure. You've given everybody some really interesting advice. Now, if I was to put you on the spot and say, okay, someone's come to you and said, I want to be more creative. You're only allowed to tell them one thing. What would your one, like the tip that, as far as you're concerned, is guaranteed to help someone be or access their creativity better? What would that be?
That's a tough question. Okay, try and say it in a sentence, but I'm going to add a few things together in that one sentence. I would take yourself out of your everyday environment, like your office or your room or your home. I would take a walk or in nature, and I would meditate on what you love and what you're passionate about. And then I would follow that particular thing in a creative way. That's what I would do. Definitely give your mind the space to allow your imagination to go on a journey.
Awesome. Chrissy Levett, thank you so much for chatting to me today. And just a quick reminder that Chrissy is the founder and the CEO of the Creative Conscience, and you'll be able to find more information about them from all the links that are underneath this video in the video description. Thank you so much for listening. If you heard anything today that you found particularly inspirational, which you must then act on, as Chrissy said, please put it in the comments. We'd love to see what you found valuable about today's interview. Subscribe, like, share. There'll be plenty more of these things to come. And if you know someone who you think's a really interesting person who uses creativity somewhere in their lives, be they an artist or business person, inventor, or entrepreneur, drop them into the link as well, drop them into the comments as well. I'd love to get in touch and see if they're keen to be interviewed. So, Chrissy, thanks again for coming, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.